We want to chase those dreams, have that closet, work with those brands, level up in corporate, have that business, own that apartment. But every time we take a step towards that direction, something pulls us right back. But that tail is no longer ours. Welcome back to another episode of Cool Girl's Guide to, where we focus on living our life to the fullest, that swoon-worthy dream life. I am your host Zara, and this is Cool Girl Monologue. I know you want that dream life, and it's yours to have, but every time you move in that direction, there's so much resistance that you just end up back in the same spot. And it all starts with the brain. Once you learn to believe that that life is yours, it will come to you easily. In just 5 steps that take less than 30 minutes to do, we can have our brain working in our favor instead of working against us, and so we can smoothly and easily get that dream life. This video is broken into 4 parts. Firstly, the knowledge bank, aka the science and Islamic knowledge behind it all. Secondly, how a rewired brain will actually help you get your dream life. Thirdly, the 5 steps to actually rewire your brain, the step-by-step guide on how to have that brain working in our favor. Chapter 1, the knowledge bank. Firstly, we're going to start with the mind. The mind, or nafs, is a compilation of your beliefs, identity, personality, and emotions. It is not your brain just the way you are not your brain. It's the prism through which you see life. The nafs uses the brain, and the brain responds to it. The brain is a neuroplastic responder. It is not hardwired, it's softwired, which means it can change so you can change. Every time it's stimulated by the nafs, it responds electromagnetically, neurochemically, and genetically. This in turn causes the structures in your brain to grow and change, building and wiring in new thoughts. The brain is never the same. It's constantly changing based on every new experience you have every moment in the day. And you kind of control this change with your unique thinking, feeling, and choosing, aka the thoughts that you have and the choices that you hence make. Everything we do begins with a thought, and if we want to change anything in our lives, we're gonna have to change the way we think. We have to learn to catch and edit these thoughts and reactions before they trigger toxic chains of reactions that become ingrained in our neural network, aka before our bad thoughts turn into bad habits. A thought is a real physical thing that occupies mental real estate in your brain. A thought essentially is the big idea. It kind of looks like a tree. It's the big concept, and inside it are embedded memories. So essentially, a thought is just a collection of memories. Chapter 2, how a rewired brain will help you get that dream life. If we can change how our brain interprets and responds to the information it receives, we can change our thought patterns in a different direction. Essentially, if we can change or purify our nafs, we can rewire our brain that can lead to different outcomes, because our brain interpreted things in a different way. When we connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our thoughts are in alignment, we've dealt with the toxic ones and built positive ones, and our emotions are being regulated, we can not only live up to our potential, but thrive. When the mind is working in our favor and our thoughts are in alignment, our brain is purified, we can receive and notice God's guidance, and hence receive all the things that are meant for us and live that dream life. But we can only change what we're conscious of. Toxic energy results in an imbalance in the brain and essentially in the mind. If this toxic energy isn't dealt with, it accumulates and eventually explodes in an uncontrollable way, which is why we need to transfer it to our conscious mind so we can deal with it. And it's not just the negative stuff that should be pushed into the conscious mind, but also the positive good stuff too. As humans, we naturally want to experience and focus on joy, peace, excitement, and happiness. These positive emotions, we need to capture and focus on them because they allow our brain to operate in a resilient state. Gratitude, empathy, humor, all of these positive values are waiting to be used to help us operate in a higher level. An example to kind of help you understand how this actually works, we're going to be following 2 people, Emily and Jessica. Emily's business failed. And because of the way her brain operates and the way it views failure, she sees her failed business as this horrible, shameful thing that she should just push to the side. It also is tied to her self-worth. She ties her self-worth to her achievements and material things, so automatically her self-worth decreases because of her failed business too. Jessica, whose business also fails, doesn't seem too bothered by it. She's upset, but she also knows it's just part of the process, and her failed business is a stepping stone to what is actually meant for her. She feels a bit down, but there's no decrease in her self-worth or the way she sees herself, because her self-worth is not tied to her material or achievements anyway. Both Jessica and Emily experience the exact same thing, but they process it in a different way and interpret the same situation in a different way because their brain operates in a different way. And essentially their mind, which is a collection of your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, is different in both of these women. One of them sees failure as something to just be ashamed of, and another one sees it as a learning lesson that will help her get to where she wants to be. And that is why we need to manage our mind and hence rewire our brain. Chapter 3, the step-by-step guide on how to actually rewire your brain. Before doing these steps, it's good to kind of prep your brain by just doing some deep breathing or just sitting quietly in a quiet, silent space. Step 1, gather, aka gather awareness. When a thought pops into your mind, stop and gather. What am I feeling? Where am I feeling this? How is my perspective looking on the day? What are my behaviors and what am I saying or doing? Just observe what you're thinking and feeling. Embrace the fact that you feel hurt or frustrated. Don't suppress these emotions, but just understand that they will pass. They don't have to define your next actions or thoughts. In this step, you're essentially embracing and acknowledging everything you're feeling emotionally and physically, and just kind of observing without judgment or suppression. Gather, read, and listen to what you're feeling, and some questions you can ask yourself are right here. Once you've gathered awareness on everything you're feeling physically and emotionally, and all the information that is coming up with this thought, we can move on to the second step, reflect. An important thing to note is to just answer the questions as you go along and write this down. That will really help you kind of solidify everything that's going on in your brain and kind of get it out on paper. In this second step, you are basically asking, answering, and discussing everything that came up in the first step. The purpose is to understand your thinking and your behavior and emotions and kind of see if there's a pattern or a correlation between what you're thinking, feeling, and experiencing. And we do this to find the origin or the root cause of like, where is this thought coming from and why is it coming up now and what is it all about? The aim of this step is to shift your focus from your actual behaviors and your feelings to your thought and the things that triggered it, and then to your perspective, and then to the root cause to kind of solve this issue. So there are two ways you can do this. You can either do the why method where you just ask why 5 times, or you can just answer these questions, which I think are incredibly helpful and helped me massively. Essentially, just write the thought at the top of the paper and what you're feeling physically, the information attached to this thought, the feelings attached to this thought, whether it's a fact or an assumption, listed it right here for you guys. Once you do this, it's really critical that you actually answer all these questions, we can move on to step 3, which is write. And I already told you this at the start, so I think you guys have already been doing this. Essentially, write down everything you've been feeling and as you've been going through the steps. I already told you guys to do this at the start. You can do this in a mind map format or just in a questions format, whatever feels suitable for you. I will put a picture of the mind map in case you do want to do it in a mind map format. And however, if for some reason nothing is really coming up, you can try another technique to kind of help you figure out this thought. Close your eyes and kind of observe the free flow of thoughts and look at the thoughts that pop up. Notice the ones that pop up the most or have a similarity or similar theme to them. Write down the emotions, behaviors, bodily signals, and information that came up as you did this. And now you can just kind of start on the 5 steps as well. Like you can, if you just felt like nothing is coming up, I can't really think of a thought, try this method instead, and you can just go back to step 1, 2, 3, 4 and do it that way. This is essentially a technique if for some reason you can't pinpoint one thought. So yeah. Step 4, recheck. Recheck what you've written. This is where we piece together our thoughts and figure out what the problem is so we can solve it. And some questions that you can ask yourself to help with this are right here. In this step, we're kind of looking at what the problem is and how we can reconceptualize our negative thought into one that's either neutral, more bearable, or positive. And we want to do this because we don't want this negative thought to just stay in our brain pattern. We want to shift it into something different and more positive, something that works in our favor. And finally, step 5, which is active reach, which is just the most important, I would say, out of all of them, and just the most helpful to kind of help you deal with these thoughts on a daily basis. This is where you apply and practice what you've been working on, aka an action or a phrase or something that you hold on to throughout the day, just in case this thought pops up. This is where you practice the reconceptualized thought. You get to decide what the action is that you do on a daily basis. And it could just be some deep breathing, it could be a catchphrase, it could be a reminder, a sticky note on your mirror that you look at, or just a minuscule change to the way you speak, right? It can be something as small as that, something small that you can just hold on to and reach for when that thought comes up again. So some questions you can ask yourself are here, and I put a format for the catchphrase that you can kind of create for yourself in this step. And I feel like this has helped me massively and has made a major difference in my thinking, and I can't recommend it enough. An example of my catchphrase is, when I feel tightness in my chest, I will remind myself that everything I want is with God, and because I have God, everything is always flowing to me, and I will choose to feel grateful. So that's just one catchphrase that I have, and it's helped me massively whenever I feel overwhelmed or like everything is out of reach. So yeah. So these 5 steps are a daily thing that you need to do, and they only take like anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes depending on your thought and depending on how intense it is. If you just do them for 21 days, they will become solidified in your mind, and after 63 days, roughly 2 months, they become a proper habit that you kind of automatically do, and your thinking has essentially just changed. So yeah, this is my cool girl's guide to rewiring your brain for all the cool girls and guys who have these big dreams and ambitions to live that beautiful, amazing, swoon-worthy life that you know you deserve and you know is meant for you. This is how we are going to get there. One of the steps to kind of change the way we think so we can actually accept and receive everything that is meant for us. And so I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I will see you soon in another video next week. Till then, take care. Bye.